Welcome back to our show. I'm Erik Bergman from We Toasted Toastmasters in Lake Oswego. And my guest tonight is someone who's passionate about leadership, and he's also passionate about giving a voice to people whose voices might not otherwise be heard. Tonight with me, I have John Hunt. He's a local labor leader, organizer, and union man, and he's built a career in transportation, first with Burlington Northern, now with TriMet, and he's serving as vice president of his local union. That's Amalgamated Transit Union 757. So welcome, John Hunt.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here and to learn more about your work, especially leadership and speaking out, because those are things that matter to those of us who are in Toastmasters. Now, I understand you come from a union family. Your father was also a union man. Can you tell us how that influenced you as a child and your career path?
Yes. My father was a union officer for ATU 757. I'm actually a second generation. And, at the kitchen table, I heard a lot about union business, the struggles of our union members and assisting them and giving them a voice. So I had a great opportunity of growing up in a union household. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people have the same opportunities that I had growing up.
You certainly found a career in this area, and can you maybe tell us about your union? What are the workers? What jobs do they have? What's the geography of it? And then we'll get on to some of the issues. But first, the members themselves. What are their roles?
Yeah, so ATU 757 is about approximately 5,300 members, and that's the entire state of Oregon and Southwest Washington. Represent about 24 collective bargaining agreements, and those are contracts between the employer and the union. Out of those, that's public, private, heavy rail, light rail, streetcar. If we're transporting people, it's usually ATU 757, from school bus to our paratransit folks that do the door-to-door service. And our folks struggle in these jobs. They're not easy jobs, but they really enjoy what they do.
Wow, so these are the people operating our trains, our buses. Our lives are in their hands.
Absolutely. In fact, most people wouldn't realize how stressful being an operator is. And as if we looked out there and seen a police car going down the road, we'd recognize that that's probably a stressful situation. Yeah. But a bus operator really has those stresses as well. The amount of vibration that comes through the seat, to the amount of interactions that are taking place, the Smith system checking the sites, identifying the problems that are arising, and giving great customer service at the same time, while wielding a 40,000-pound bus through the downtown traffic.
Right. I can attest to the stress of a driver. Way long ago, I was a school bus driver, and I loved it in a way, and I didn't like it so much in a way. A lot of stress. I know you have talked about some of the big wins that labor unions have won on behalf of their members, their union members. Maybe you could just recap a few of those, and why did that matter? How did that help? How did the labor union help shape our country and our workplace as we see it today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think our middle class has been born through the unions. Our rights of a work week, a 40-hour work week and a 2 consecutive days off. These are important things. Health and safety, on making sure that the worker's protected when issues arise. The labor movement has had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to bring a safe environment for our members. And while people think that maybe the unions were needed way back when, but they're needed now just as much so.
Right. You say that it's not just they were good back then when people were literally being mangled in industrial machines or being forced to work 5.5, 6, 7 days a week. They're still needed.
Absolutely.
What are some of the specific things that you as a leader are trying to achieve for the people that you represent?
Yeah, we have a lot of interactions with the general public, and working with the community and created a safer environment for our operators. We're seeing a lot of issues that are taking place, confrontations with riders and drivers that are confronting each other and creating quite frankly, some really hostile areas. And we need to create a better atmosphere within our community. And I don't believe that's done with badges and billy clubs, but community support and knowing your neighbor and talking through those issues and collaborating on how do we get there safely.
What do you see as one of the great ways that you can help as a labor leader? You're a vice president of your local 757. What can you bring to help those employees make their workplace better?
Well, I think it's listening. It's sitting down and really having an opportunity to find out the issues that are going on and talking through those issues. So collaboration, one-on-ones and roundtable discussions, really identifying those problems, collaborating with them and finding a voice and collectively moving forward with the community as partners to identify to these employers the things that are needed in order to have a safe and reliable service.
Now, you also negotiate contracts, is that correct? You're in there working across the table from CEOs or other business management. How do you approach that? What's the give or take that can be successful so that the business can thrive and yet the employees can still get an honest day's pay?
Yeah, it's not easy. In these times, we've got things are getting difficult. However, unemployment is down, and we've got lots of workers out there. So the employers are recognizing the needs of these operators and that they need to be paid professionally. It's articulating the issues and why ultimately we believe it's good business to have affordable health care. We want to make sure that workers are safe and healthy, having a living wage, that they're able to live in the same city in which they work in. Collaborating with the employer on issues, if we have these good wages and benefits, people are stable and they're not transient, they're moving around. This kind of work is when somebody is out sick, somebody has to replace them. We need to get things moving. So we want to have reliable people. And if somebody's sick and they're not able to do their job. So identifying the problems and working collaboratively and pushing that forward. Not only looking at the hard work that's being done, but the emotional side of it on what these folks do bring to the table.
You mentioned safety as an issue, and in Portland we have snow days where a lot of things get shut down, and sometimes that means the transit system might be in jeopardy of not serving everybody possible. Can you talk about some of the issues that the drivers face when it is a snow day, when the roads are bad and people are told to stay home? Oh, but TriMet still has to be running.
You'd be amazed the amount of effort that goes into trying to get people to work. I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. When those roads are snowy and it's hard to get there, our operators are trying to get into work. You know, at the end of the day, we need to figure out a better system. We have folks that are trapped in their cabs of their vehicles for a full shift and not being relieved. I mean, these are things that we all should be taking a look at as a community on a better way to serve our community.
Maybe as we sum up here, what's the future of unions in America as you see it? What do you want for unions and their members?
Well, I think unions to survive need to listen to their members. We need to be strong and recognize that we're all collectively different, but we're also the same. Giving voice to everyone, creating a safe environment to discuss those issues, and collaborate with the community. I think our partners, we're all in this together. And when we have a safe system, we're all safe. And when we're all prospering, we're all doing better. And I think achieving those goals, finding those places that we can find small successes and work collectively together moving forward is where I think our unions will be. Looking at technology and how we adapt to them.
What about the technology? Is there anything there we could look forward to see that might change the way unions work?
Well, I think regardless if we have technology or old school, we will still have employers that unfortunately will be looking at the bottom line versus the labor movement. And we need those of us that are standing up and voicing together to make that happen. As we look at technology, we need to embrace it. and identify those areas in which we can, our jobs change and mold. I'm not interested in carless drivers, but at the end of the day, I think we need professionals behind the wheel making sure people are safe.
Here's a more general question. What do you see as the characteristics of a good leader? What makes a good leader in your eyes?
I think a good leader needs to recognize what they don't know. I think it's all too often that people find a role and they assume that they need to know everything. So I think the ability to be humble and recognizing that you're not the smartest person in the room, and the ability to collaborate with others. While all of us can't drive the bus, somebody at the same time, somebody needs to drive it at once. Being a strong leader, not only recognizing your shortfalls, but those strengths in which you bring to the table, and recognizing other strengths.
Well, John, it's been fascinating hearing your inside view of the labor movement and labor unions. And is there, if people want to learn more about your union, is there a website that we can point them to?
Yes, that's atu757.org.
Great, Local 757. Thank you so much, John. I've really appreciated it. This is Erik Bergman. Please join us again another time.
Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. Tonight, we are on location at the Kroc Center in Salem, Oregon. Our special guest is International Director Jim Coley. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Emily. It's great to be here.
You've been involved with Toastmasters since 2002. How would you define leadership?
The definition of leadership, for me, is very context sensitive. For some people, it could mean what someone in a leadership position in an army does for their troops. Or it could mean someone who's in a management position in a company. It could mean a parent with their children. So instead of me thinking about leadership from a definition perspective, I like to think of it as a model. So in that model, which you can apply in different contexts and get a different definition in those contexts, I like to think about leadership as having two essential elements. The person who is the leader needs to make a decision on behalf of some other interest, and then they need to persuade other people to adopt that decision. And for someone to be an effective persuader, they have to be aware of different styles of persuasion, and they also have to manage how they're perceived by the people they're trying to persuade. For example, some people will have a different view of you and will be more or less susceptible based on whether or not they trust you, whether or not you're a relative, whether or not you have other things in common, whether or not they respect you. So all those things are important. So if you want to be an effective leader, you have to think about skills that help you be a better decision maker, and you have to think about managing how you're perceived, and you have to think about the skills that you use when you're trying to persuade people.
I see. How would you encourage members to take on leadership roles?
For me, that's an easy question. I don't know how many of you pay dues for your Toastmasters experience. I pay dues. I think you probably pay dues. I think we all pay dues. Because we're all paying dues, the reason you're in Toastmasters is to get something from that program. What you get out of that program is what you put into that program. If you're paying money for your Toastmasters experience and you're not indulging in leadership opportunities, that's like buying tickets for an amusement ride and not riding on any of the rides. You can't get the thrill from watching people who are on these roller coasters and other thrill rides by simply walking through the park with a ticket in your hand. If you've joined Toastmasters, if you've paid your dues, you have made a commitment at some level to participate, to give presentations, and to experience the opportunities that we give you to learn and grow.
A member who's been a member for many years and who wants to move on into the area of leadership, how would you encourage them?
I would say to them, you have the skills, it's time. You've paid your dues. Think about where you've been in Toastmasters and how it's affected your life already. You've got communication skills. That's part of what you need to be an effective leader and to have influence other people, but you need that additional experience, that training, the perspectives and mentorship of other people to really, really grow and change the world.
And you are an example of that, right? You started as a member and then now you're an international director. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
I can tell you as much as you want, but we don't have too much time. I'll give you the short version. I joined Toastmasters in 2002. At that time, I was a technical manager within GE Healthcare. Over a period of a few years, I realized that my skills were allowing me to do things that would not have been within my grasp 5 years before that. I accepted a promotion that moved me from Wisconsin to California in 2013 based on other people's perceptions of skills that I had that I would not have had without my Toastmasters experience. It all started being a member, but then becoming an area governor, this was before area directors, and going through the leadership track in district leadership, and then becoming a region advisor, and then being on the international board, have all grown me personally and allowed me to help other people succeed.
Thank you, Jim. We don't have a whole lot of time.
You can keep going. She'll edit it.
I can keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question. How would you encourage somebody who really would not want to do it because they're just afraid? Yeah, that's always the question. They don't know what's out there. It's safer to be in the club.
The club is very safe. I would start off with reminding them that they joined Toastmasters because they believed in themselves. They believed they could take on new challenges. They could grow in ways where they don't have skills before. That's the first thing. The second thing is, according to our statistician, George Marshall, no one has ever died performing a scary Toastmaster function.
Exactly.
Between those two things and the fact that it will make a better world for you, I don't know why you would not accept such a position.
Good point. Jim, we're out of time. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us for another episode of TV Toastmasters. To learn more about Toastmasters, go to toastmasters.org.
Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. My name is Philip Mandel. I'm a member of TV Toastmasters and Creekside Toastmasters in Beaverton. I'm here today with Jerry Fletcher of Z-Axis Marketing, who's going to share with us some amazing tips that he has in his hip pocket. Jerry, welcome to TV Toastmasters.
Thank you so much.
Z-Axis Marketing, I got X and Y, and what's that?
Many years ago when I decided to open up a private practice, I'd been doing a lot of work with the X and Y axis and doing a little bit exploring the Z axis as well. So I thought, oh, that'd be a great name. Let's call it Z-Axis Marketing. So I did. Dumb move. Basically what happened was nobody could spell it. Nobody could, get it onto a check, which is where I was really looking for it. But more importantly, they couldn't find the URL because they just couldn't get it done right. So one of the lessons I've learned over the years, and the thing I teach most of the folks that I work with, is if you are an independent professional of some kind, use your name. Whatever you put with your name is fine, but use your name because that's the way people will remember you.
Very good.
Well, we try to help.
Excellent tip. Thank you. I'll use that in my real estate business if I may.
You certainly may. For a small fee.
For a fee. All right, you got it. How'd you get into public speaking? You do a lot of speaking all around the world.
Well, way back then, let's see, that's 28 years ago, I guess. I was talking to a number of people about, what worked for building a business and so on, because I, knew practice. And one of the things that was mentioned was that speaking was a good way to get out in front of people. That's a good idea. So I heard about this meeting of a group in Portland, and it was the National Speakers Association.
I've heard of them.
Except at that time, they weren't affiliated with national speakers. It was the people who were trying to get enough people together to found a chapter.
Oh, okay.
So that was in 1992, 93, somewhere in there. And so I'm now a founding member of the NSA chapter here in Portland, Oregon.
I didn't realize you were one of the founding members.
Somebody's got to start it.
I know. So your speaking gig, someone hires you to do what? And explain a little bit about that.
Well, for the most part, what I do is, I've got about 3 programs that I do. I do a lot of work on trust, how to build trust and get to the point where people are going to hire you to do something and stay with you for a long time.
If I remember correctly, that's what you mean by Z-axis.
Z-axis, the Z-axis is trust.
Is trust.
X and Y is the usual stuff, time and money.
Ah.
Z is trust.
Gotcha.
So in any case, what I do some work on trust, but when I started out, I said to myself, well, what can I talk about? What will people want to know about? And so I became the networking ninja. And so I do programs on all kinds of information about networking, do them all the time. I have one that's called 30-second marketing that is absolutely the best thing I've ever done. You probably are like a lot of folks, and you've heard that you ought to have what they call an elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch.
Right. Let me make this clear.
Okay.
People do not want a commercial.
Oh.
They would prefer to have a conversation. So the basis of 30-second marketing is to have a conversation. Then the first piece of that is, if it's someone you've never met before, what's your real objective? You want them to remember you. So you have to do something to make yourself memorable. That's called a hook. Okay. Now we all know about hooks. Yeah. Have you ever had a situation where this tune keeps running through your mind hour after hour? You can't get rid of it?
Correct.
That's a hook. Film at 11. That's a hook.
Okay.
Watch this program. That's a hook, etc. So in order to get to that memorability statement, you have to find a way to describe yourself. Networking Ninja was the way I described myself so that people would remember me. I get calls today, 28 years after I first did that, and they're looking for the Networking Ninja, and they can't remember my name, but they remember that.
I love it.
That's wonderful.
That's quite a hook.
But it's wonderful. So the real thing in 30-second marketing, there's 4 pieces. Hook them, hold them, pitch them, and close them. The hook could be anything like, well, I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
How do I say this? What if you ran into someone who said that he was Captain Crunch? Would you think that he might be a CPA?
No. Sounds like a cereal to me.
But when somebody says to you, the most popular question in North America, what do you do? You have to have an answer. He answers Captain Crunch. I answer Networking Ninja. I've also been known to answer Brand Poobah. Don't ask. No, it's because I've done, over the years, I've been a marketing expert for more years than we want to talk about.
Okay.
And one of the things that always comes up is brand. People want to know what's going on with brand. What can I do to brand myself quickly, easily, better? Pardon me.
Uh-oh. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Put that under your collar. There we are. There we are.
All right, technical difficulties. Go ahead.
Technical difficulties. Any case.
Yours is doing it too, but don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's up there. Anywho, so the thing that happens with brand is that most people try too hard. What you're really looking for is something that people can remember. Okay, so you can use a hook like Networking Ninja, or you could use something that I call the beautiful benefit. Okay, long ago and far away when I was first starting my practice, one of the things I did was websites. And so what I'd do is I'd stand up in a Chamber of Commerce meeting and say, oh, you know, they're asking what you do, and I'd say, we build websites that make rain. And I'd sit down. Sure enough, after everybody introduced themselves, there'd be 3, 4, 5 people who go and say, could you tell me a little more about that? Okay, so as I said, 30-second marketing is hook them, hold them, pitch them, and close them. So the hold is, you know how, well, ever since your niece or your nephew built that website for you, you've been having difficulties getting it fixed. And you really want to have that happen, but nobody seems to pay much attention. Okay, notice how you're saying, What's the conversation? So, and then my next thing would be, well, what we do is we build you a website so that you can change every picture and every word on it, but we are not going to let you screw up the navigation. That's the way we do it, okay? And then I would suggest that I've done this for a number of other people, and would you like to have a cup of coffee and talk about it? Works every time.
Nice.
Well,
hook them, hold them,
pitch them, and close them.
pitch them, and close them. All right.
Well, rough words.
News you can use.
Right.
So your education, you went to university
Oh, yes. I went to the University of Cincinnati.
a couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, more than we're going to come up with.
Okay.
And my degree is in advertising design. Okay?
Right.
But the University of Cincinnati, where I went to school, is a co-op school. Therefore, you go to work for about 6 weeks, and then you go back to school for about 6 weeks, back and forth, back and forth. It takes 5 years to graduate, but when you do, you've had some real practical experience.
Gotcha.
The fun part for me was that my job was in New York City. I worked for J. Walter Thompson, which at that point in time was the largest advertising agency in the world, had one of the best training programs in the world. So when people say to me, like tonight, do you know anything about video? I learned at CBS about video. back in the days when they still used Bolopticon slides. Don't ask me to explain that. Okay?
Okay, gotcha. Good. So you're comfortable on camera.
I'm comfortable on camera. I'm comfortable, on the board if I don't have to do it live.
Gotcha.
I like editing, but I don't like doing it live.
Got it. People are watching,
Yes.
and they're wondering, what can I get from this 11, 12-minute talk? What gift do you want to give our listeners about marketing, about pitching?
Well, again, the first piece is, in today's world, the single most important thing is being memorable. If you can find a way to describe yourself the way a 5-year-old would and have people kind of get that,
Yeah.
it's a great way to demonstrate your difference. It's a way for people to remember you.
Okay.
And if they can remember you, they'll hire you. If you can get that same set of words, whatever they may be, as a URL, it's almost better than getting the trademark registered. I don't say you shouldn't register the trademark, but I'm saying get the URL first. Okay?
Gotcha.
So that's one little nugget. The other nugget is 30-second marketing. Get that hook. Hook them, hold them, pitch them, and close them.
Gotcha. So let's do some examples. So you already gave me an accounting example.
Oh, okay.
Financial planner, mortgage broker.
Okay. Financial planner. Actually, this is an actual case.
Okay.
What he does is he manages your life, not your money.
Wow.
Because people are really looking for a lifestyle. They're not looking for a lot of money. They're looking for a way to live. Okay?
All right.
Another one, he's an accountant, not an accountant, but a management consultant. Okay? And we found this by probing a lot of the information and testimonials that people had given him. Essentially, what we said was he is the defogger. He literally, because he's taken people from where they are to where they need to be, and he shows them how to clarify everything.
Oh my goodness.
The defogger.
That's beautiful.
Right. There's another one. It's kind of fun. Gal who is she's a money consultant. Now, she never talks about dollars and cents. She never talks about numbers. What she talks about is the problems that we all have in our minds and so on. So, again, delving into all the information we had about her, we decided to call her the untangler.
Untangler.
She untangles those money knots in your mind.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay?
I wish we could go on.
Oh, I wish we would too.
We're down to the last little bit here, so we're going to have to stop right there. But thank you for all the tips and goodies, and hook them, hold them, pitch them,
And close them.
And close them. Okay.
You got it. See, it doesn't take long.
It doesn't, I know. My name is Philip Mandel. We've been speaking with Jerry Fletcher of Z-Axis Marketing. Jerry, thank you for being on TV Toastmasters.